see, we are presenting the second part of the bill on comprehensive electoral reforms to the parliament. As you are already aware that we have already presented the part 1 on 13 June and 14 June, and now you see, as far as 13 June and 1st July is concerned, we are presenting the second part of this bill. As you are already aware that you see, the first part of the bill you see comprised amendment to the Constitution. That is where we say the 126th amendment to the Constitution and amendments to the Representation of the People's Act 1950 and the Delimitation Act 2002. Along with you see the amendment for you see the local bodies that we suggested in the 127th you see Constitutional Amendment Bill to amend the Constitution for bringing in proportional representation system and multi-member you see ward system in the local bodies. Today's you see part second, it also is a very exhaustive bill, and we are considering as a major you see electoral reforms bill, much more greater than the GST. And what I am saying so is because you see we have proposed to amend you see the Representation of the People's Act 1951. Then along with this you see the amendment to the IT Act 1961, amendment to the Companies Act 2013 as well as 1956, and amendment to the Cable Networks Regulation Act 1995 and the TROI, that is the Telecom Regulatory Authority Act 1997, and along with this you see the Conduct of Election Rules 1961 have also been amended. What are the key features of the second bill that I would like to brief? We have introduced you see a National Electoral Fund for funding the political parties as well as the candidates. As we all know that today you see there is no public funding to the candidates or political parties, and this is creating a great discrepancy between the rich and poor, the big and small, because you see the poor or you see the smaller parties, they are not able to get you see the fair representation in the parliament due to the absence of the public funding. So now what we have proposed is that you see no company or corporation would be allowed to you see fund to the political parties directly. If at all they want use tax exemptions, they can use contribute to the National Electoral Fund, and through the National Electoral Fund you see the political parties as well as the candidates would be you see funded for conducting the elections. The political parties of course been allowed to you see raise the membership fees of 10, 20 rupees or 50 rupees, whatever they charge according to their own constitution, as well as you see raising the contributions up to 2,000 rupees in cash. So this is the first part of the you see key feature of the bill. Then second, we have you see impose you see ceiling on the expenditures of the political parties and the third party interest groups, not only the candidates as it is there today, because you see if a candidate is spending you see 60 lakh or 70 lakh rupees in his constituency, and the party suppose it spends 6 crores or 7 crores of rupees, you see, then there cannot be equity in the elections as far as the present electoral system is concerned. So now what we have done is that we have not only imposed the ceiling on the candidates but also the political parties and the third party interest groups. This is a second key feature of this you see bill. The third key feature is that we have empowered the Election Commission of India to impose you see fines and you see regulations as far as you see the political party violations of the ceilings are concerned, and also because we have introduced a fair media regulation for the advertisement rates as well as the slots as well as you see the timing that you see all the private or you see the public media will have to you see comply for you see the election rules. So therefore you see if the media does not subscribe to the orders of the Election Commission of India, what we have suggested is that the Election Commission of India shall be conducting inquiry and imposing the fines on the electronic media as well as the parties if they you see violate the ceilings of their expenditures. Then the fourth key feature of this bill is that we have introduced a provision for counting 100% paper trails, because as of now you see only the random sample method has been agreed by the Election Commission of India, that too by the you see efforts of Ambedkarite Party of India, because we have already petitioned the Election Commission of India on 14th April, and it's only due to the petition of Ambedkarite Party of India that the Election Commissioner, the Chief Election Commissioner has agreed that he will be counting you see 30% of the paper trails. But now what we are suggesting in this bill is that not only 30% but the 100% paper trails should be counted along with the e-votes which are you see recorded in the EVMs. So this is another you see key feature of this bill. Then we have brought in provisions for you see the recognition of the national parties as well as the state parties. We have not yet left it to the discretion of the Election Commission of India as it is there today. What we have suggested is that you see the criterion for the recognition of the state parties as well as the national parties should be reduced to 2%, as well as winning of some of the seats. And any party which is validly nominating 10% of the candidates, along with the state party and national party, or any other party which is contesting elections all across the country or the state on whatsoever seats it may be contesting, should be given uniform symbols. So this is a major key feature of this bill. And then there are smaller provisions that how the election expenses should be monitored, how the EVMs and paper trails should be handled. All these key features are there in this bill. So along with the proportional representation system and the multi-member constituencies and the increasing of the number of MPs and MLAs both in the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha and the Legislative Assembly, along with the reservation for women, along with the laying of the principles for delimitation, and now along with public funding and the ceiling on the political parties and the third party expenditures, and there is a fair media regulation and the counting of 100% of the paper trails and the granting of uniform symbols to all the candidates and the political parties, and the new criterion for deciding the national parties and the state parties. I feel this is a major reform, much greater than GST, because GST is only a reform for the taxation system or the economic system of India. But for the past 25 years, the Parliament has not done considerably something as far as the electoral reforms are concerned. It took 17 years for the Parliament as well as the country to enact GST, but Ambedkarite Party of India, just in 1 month, we have enacted this great legislation, and now we are presenting it to the Parliament as a citizens bill. We have evoked the Human Rights International Law, International Covenant of Civil and Political Rights, 1966, and International Convention on Elimination of All Forms of Racial Discrimination, along with Article 118 of the Constitution of India and the Rules of House, and we are petitioning it as a citizens bill. What is the concept behind the citizens bill is that though the citizens may not have the right to speak or vote in the Parliament, but at least they must have a right to initiate a legislation. And on this new concept, we have petitioned this now. We are presenting this bill to the Parliament, and we are very much optimistic that this real radical reform for the parliamentary democracy in India, for giving a true and fair and equitable representation to the rich and poor alike, to the women or men alike, to the SC, STs, OBCs, or minorities or general category alike, to the rural or the urban people alike. So this major electoral reform is the only reform which will take India to a new India and an enlightened India. And we are very much optimistic that our Parliament shall be taking a very considered view on this. And from today onwards, the Ambedkarite Party of India shall be seeing to it that this greatest bill for legislating on electoral reforms is being pursued and is being implemented in India. Whenever the electoral reforms will be brought in this country from today onwards, it will be only due to the great effort of Ambedkarite Party of India. And whenever a history would be written in this regard, API's name would find a place in the golden letters. Let us bring in a true parliamentary democracy, the people's democracy in India, for creating a new India and enlightened India. Jai Bhim, Jai Prabuddha Bharat, Jai Prabuddha World.